Welcome everyone to round 7 action of the official V8 Supercar Championship Series here on Motorsport TV, powered by iRacing.com. We are here at Road America for 39 laps of grueling action here. It's going to be a long one, a lot of strategy to play out. I am Jake Blackhall. Joining me in the commentary booth tonight is Johnny Simon. Welcome to the broadcast, Johnny.
Thanks, Jake. Good to be here again around a classic venue around the USA motor racing field. We've got lots of turns here. You look at a couple of overtaking spots into turn 1, turn 5, 2 after the marine sweep. And what about turn 12, the Canada corner? It's a very technical circuit, a circuit that really suits these cars too. We're in for a very good race here this afternoon.
Yeah, that we are. It's definitely going to be an interesting race. A 46 track degree temperature at the moment. That's very hot, so the tyres are going to be struggling to keep that grip up. We are right now in the middle of qualifying. The cars have a long outlap, 2 minutes around here, especially in this weather. We'll be looking for around a 2-minute 10 lap time. So overall, it's going to be a long time, not a lot of time actually to get 2 laps in, Johnny. That could maybe hurt some people if they go a little bit too slow on their outlaps trying to keep the grip in their tyres.
Yeah, it's just something you should be preparing for ahead of the event. You know that it's only a 2 flying lap qualifying session, and this is where nerves build up too. It's only qualifying. I think some of these drivers need to just relax. You know, it's not the end of the world if you don't set the best time. So we're still waiting for that first time to be set, and we have some good names here in the field this afternoon in the top split.
Yeah, that's right, 24 cars. We've got a massive field here today at Road America. We've got Sammy Sutton as well, and Javad Keeney, doing a good job first time here in the V8 Supercar Series, number 3 on his car. So it will be interesting to see how he goes this week. And we've got George Rogers coming back, as well as Sam Sutton and Ian Ford up the front of the field. But it's a big, strong field that may play a little bit into the strategy game, especially with these lead cars. There's going to be 2 pit stops today. Depending on how you play it out, it could be coming in early, it could come in later. So we'll see how that plays out. And with the traffic, you may want to change your strategy according.
Yeah, and let's see how that depends on where you qualify, obviously. And right now, Ian Ford, who is just rounding himself around the racetrack, is just looking to set a great time. You know, we had a great race at Sebring 2 weeks ago, and that was something where these drivers just sort of showed their aggression. Here today at Road America, it's a narrow racetrack, bit of time for them to set up their overtakes as Ford wraps around turn 5 now, using all of that rubbeting curb. Uphill, you can see this blind braking zone into turn 6. So difficult in the turning point, Jake. This is where you just don't really know where to turn the car in. You have to use a couple of reference points because the apex is blind. Yeah,
that's right. Coming over that crest, it's really difficult. You gotta pick multiple points on the track. I know from driving this car earlier on in the week, it's a hard place to get a job done in just a lap time sense. According to a pass, you can't really get a job done there at all. You got to be very brave on the brakes, and you can easily lock a front brake, front tire going up that hill as the car unsettles over the bump. But the first time starting to come in, Mario Vlasic at the moment at 2 minutes 10.851 on provisional pole. Expect that to drop at the moment as we'll be looking through the list. I think Sam Sutton hasn't completed his lap, but Richard Alwood goes up to P1 for 2:10.8, and that gets beaten again by Paul Garrell. So he's now on a 2:10.6 is the top time. And just having a look now, we're looking at Ian Ford. He'll be coming around this final section through Bill Mitchell Bend right now, coming up into turn 14. We'll see what he puts down for his first flying lap. I think he will definitely be challenging that top provisional pole position at the moment, but it's interesting to see only 11 cars at the moment have put in a lap time, and that could, out of 24 cars, there's a lot of cars making mistakes on that early one. As here we go, Ian Ford across the line at 2 minutes 10.0, so 6/10 quicker, straight to provisional P1.
Yeah, and that's part of the track rubbering in. You look at the temperature too, 46 degrees Celsius track temperature. That could really have it is already having a factor to play in qualifying. But those drivers who haven't set a lap, I think that's it. You've got 2 minutes and 10 seconds left now. That's around about the lap time you have. Those drivers who have not set a time, they'll only have one time to set. I think Ford will be the last one to cross the line with a viable lap time.
Yeah, that's right. And just having a look now, we've got Josh Rogers coming down into turn 8, just about to enter into the carousel. He has not got a time on the board, so interesting to see Josh Rogers. He's really quick in this car. We all know he is. He's a talent, and seeing him down right now, I'd say P17 without a time, that's an interesting factor. He obviously stuffed up his first lap somewhere along the way, so he's going to have to try and get a banker lap in, which he'll still be pushing. We all know Rogers, he'll push to try and get P1, but he may just want to try and tone it down that little bit to make sure he gets a time to put him up near the pointy end, because like you were saying, Johnny, if he's further back in the field, that could change his strategy completely up in the air, and he may not ultimately be where he wants to be at the end.
Yeah, the good thing though in this V8 Supercar is, in my opinion anyway, it is easy to overtake here if you use your fundamental overtaking skills in terms of setting drivers up corner after corner, as Rogers now wraps around the final corner. He touched the grass a little bit on the inside. That's something you don't see often. A driver missing the apex on the inside of a corner, as Josh Rogers now will approach the line. And as he crosses it, looking for a 2 minutes 10.0, that puts him up into P2 there. Good lap time from him, and that will be his only lap in qualifying for now.
Yeah, that's right. His only lap is qualifying, starting to wind down here, and only Sam Sutton, a teammate to Josh Rogers, only down in 10th with a 2 minute 11.2. That is not what Rogers will be looking for. As we look at Javad Keeney, he's just coming up through here now. Let's see what he can produce. I think he's on a slow lap. He's actually going to park it up now. So that's the end of his qualifying. So I think at the moment it's going to be... And Ian Ford went quicker while we were looking at that. Ian Ford, a 209.7. He has just shown the hammer and brought it down. And that is it. I'd tell you that's P1.
Yeah, sometimes you can't always be nice, as Ian Ford in his Holden sets an amazing time of a 2 minute 9.7, just completely demoralizes this field, and that will be the last time set. As we said before, he would be the last one to cross the line. It's now race time though, Jake, and we're looking forward to an intense event. Just remember, it is very narrow on this grid, and it's going to be very tight into turn 1. That's something to look out for. It's not as wide as other circuits.
Yeah, it's definitely not wide here, and we'll run through the qualifying results here for Road America for round 7 action. And we have Ian Ford on P1 with Josh Rogers alongside him on the front row. Paul Gurrell up there in 3rd. That's a good time for Gurrell, with Richard Alwood in P4. Mario Vlasic in 5th with Luke Harvey 6th. Cooper Murray and Jeff Gorchie on row number 4. Matty Stratford and Sam Sutton rounding out the top 10. David Baxter and Greg Sharp on row 6. Todd Parks and Jason Hyde on row number 7. Daniel Ackland and Adam Zettinger on row 8, Jordan Murphy and Matt Jones on row number 9, Sean Chappell and Sean Evans all the way down in P20. That won't be what he will be looking for. David Wing rounding out the cars who actually set a lap time, with Yvard Keeney, Glenn Postlethwaite and David Miller all not setting a time for the 24 cars. So as the cars start to grid up here, Johnny, it's going to be interesting to see who's going to play what cards early on, especially in the strategy sense. You can come in, try and split this tyre stints up so that you're not having to work them as much, and you can have a faster overall lap time. But some people may try and bring the long game in, pit early, fill it up again, and then try and run the tank out and only have a shorter second stop. And that second stop could ultimately be the one that could boost them up a little bit further towards the pointy end.
Yeah, and you don't want to thrash the tyres in these first couple of laps. You want to be aggressive, but you need to be smart too. Play the long game. At the same time, if you need to thrash the tyres just to jump about 2 or 3 positions, that's key.
Yeah, so here we go. The revs will start to build here. We are away, green flag, and Ian Ford off to a good start. Looks like the secondary start was even better, so he's cleanly dropped in there, as well as Josh Rogers pulled into P number 2 in front of Paul Gurrell. The field's pretty much single file for the top 5 cars as we come into this technical turn 1. We'll see if everyone can make it through cleanly here, and it looks like we have got no trouble even further through the field. So everyone cleanly through turn 1, which is good to see. A long way to go. No one really needs to be fighting this early on. They just need to get into position, start working up as we got... Oh, and as soon as I say that, that's Paul Gurrell hard into the outside fence. That's a hard hit from Gurrell. I'd say he didn't come back on and hit no one. He didn't, so he's managed to get... He got in trouble with Richard Alwood, but that was a hard lick for Paul Gurrell into the outside fence. We got 3 wide here. That's Sam Sutton on the outside coming into the hairpin here, turn number 5, but it looks cleanly besides that at the moment.
Yeah, Cooper Murray just being defended there by Sutton, who's playing the safe game, attacking and defending at the same time. Small tap as well. Car turned around.
Yeah, he turned him. I don't know who that was. I think that was Jeff Gauci for ERA. Not 100% sure, but he has dropped all the way to the back of the field. Luke Harvey, sorry, just joined ERA over the week, and he has just had his first Monday night official just gone absolutely wrong. Was all the way up in P6. Good job for him coming into this series, not into the series, into ERA. And yeah, that's unfortunate to see, but it looks like we've had some more battles. We got the battle up front at the moment. Ian Ford and Josh Rogers really skipped away, but it is on up front. They are very close together already.
Yeah, you look at Rogers here. Will he have a look into Canada corner? Oh, look at the line under braking. Was caught out by the fact that Ford just seemed to brake a lot earlier than Rogers. And we know Rogers can brake late into corners, so now I think he can possibly set up Ford into the first corner. But these Bill Mitchell band here, then he's going to try and get the line right into the final corner. You see they use that little outside rubbered curve. Does Rogers have the slipstream? He's 6/10 behind. I don't think this is possible, but you never know.
Yeah, I don't think he's that close at the moment. He just sort of dropped away in that second half of the lap after getting balked a little bit behind Ford through that braking zone. And Mario Vlasic is just sitting comfortably in P3 at the moment. He's doing a good job. It's good to see him up inside the top 5. And having a look at Sam Sutton. Sam Sutton's gone from 10th to 5th on the first lap. He is 5 seconds away from the lead, but it sort of put him in a position where he can start to fight and change his strategy according to trying to get on that podium, which he will try and do. But just having a look through the field, it looks like it's pretty clean besides those first couple of accidents. We got the ERA car of Sean Evans all the way up into P13 at the moment from 20th on the grid. Behind him is another one, Adam Zenninger, as well as Jordan Murphy. So there's a good battle going on just inside the top 10.
Yeah, you can see that as Parks right now is having a look at Jason Hyde into turn 5. Small little look. Hyde gives him space. Straightforward move, but you can see that outside line there using the rubber gives him a chance.
Sorry, there was a crash behind him. Gauci just absolutely got on the on the grass, and he managed to just try and stop it and hit Matt Jones. And then Ackland's David Wing was around as well. So there's a couple of cars going around here making little errors early on, and some carnage is just going on crazy at the moment. Everyone needs to get their heads down. It's a 39 lap race, and they're treating this like a sprint race at the moment, which is interesting to see.
Yeah, and they need to just relax. As I said, it's only sim racing. It's not the end of the world if you get something wrong. Some people will hate me when I say that, but those successful, they don't really put their heads down, or they don't be over aggressive in the worst situations. They know when to push. They know when to back off at decent times. And Sam Sutton, the man now, needs to attack because he's currently stuck behind Cooper Murray there for 4th position. And this is the critical point here. Bill Mitchell will bend the rear end, tries to step away. You can just balance it with that right foot with these rear-wheel drive cars. And then as they head towards the final corner now, you have a slight bit of understeer too for him, but he's close enough to get that slipstream, which is important, as Cooper Murray already goes defensive on the main straight.
Yeah, he's already looking the defensive route already, Cooper Murray. He feels like he may be under a little bit of pressure, which he is, and Sam Sutton's obviously going to be the quicker of the two. He's just trying to push on. Cooper Murray's had a lot of pace this week, but Sam Sutton, we all know, driving for TTL, he's his teammate up there in P2 of Josh Rogers, so the car's got pace. He just needs to work his way through. Obviously, he tried to just put a banker lap in, and he had a really good under brakes there, actually, going through turn number 3 and coming down this long back straight now, whether he can be in the draft. And have a look going down into turn 5. He's just got to get right underneath that rear wing. They start to stick his nose out a bit early, and he loses some of that, but he may be having a little look as Cooper Murray very defensive already. He moved over under brakes, which is interesting to see, and we'll see Sutton. He's going to try and maybe have a look. We've already spoken about turn 6 coming up here, this blind corner. He thought about it, but backed out of it.
Yeah, it is still possible there. Some people argue that it's not, but if you get the line right into turn 5 and you send Cooper Murray defensive, the same way Sam Sutton just did, you can attempt to move as they head through the hurry downs. Tight line there by Cooper Murray under braking, and that's cost him a little bit, as Sam Sutton has a run, but it's a small exit on towards the long radius right-hander here. And as he stays on that grippy line, you can see the track starting to rubber in as well, starting to get darker on that racing line. That's important. You don't want to be offline on that long right-hander.
Yeah, that's right. You don't want to be offline. And it's actually Sam Sutton is all in the weeds going through the kink. Yeah, that's massively offline there, but he's managed to bring it back. He lost a lot of time though to Sam Sutton. It's put him in a little bit of a battle pack here with Matty Stratford. Stratford was got a lot of right hand front damage there that he may not be able to keep pace with Sutton, but it's put him into the clutches of Matty Stratford that he may be able to just to apply some pressure, but straight away Sam Sutton's trying to build that gap back up to Cooper Murray. It's just having a look back up in front, just an update. Ian Ford still out front at the moment as they cross the line. We'll see a 2:09.867 from Ian Ford. Back to a 2:10.3, so the gap now 1.4 seconds between the leading two.
Yeah, that has to be demoralizing. I mean, Ian Ford was almost 2 seconds lap faster than Vlasic in P3 last time around. This is already a two-horse race in terms of Ford and Rogers versus the rest of the field. And even Rogers is half a second behind Ford, so you can just see who's mastered this racetrack. And it's a great racetrack for these cars I mentioned before. Strategy will come into play later on as the battle for P14 here. Zettinger so close to Jordan Murphy for P13. He gets the run out of the corner. Out of turn 3 on towards this long straight. They'll head to the hurry downs too. He's going to have the outside line in the downhill braking zone. Really important not to outbrake himself into this corner.
Yeah, he's going to be on the outside line into turn 5, but he's managed to hold on there. A little bit sideways on the exit, tried to get the power down a bit too early. Adam did, and he just lost the rear end a little bit. He's got Glenn Postlethwaite behind him, maybe having a little look, but he's just going to sit in behind him. As we're just having a look now, he's just not close enough to Jordan Murphy as he was before, as he runs a little bit wide again. Adam, and he's in the grass. He's going to be under attack from Glenn Postlethwaite here, and he had a look but thought better of it. So Adam just lost a bit of time there behind Jordan Murphy. He was all up in the draft, but couldn't get the job done, and that's what happens around here. You can be stuck right up behind someone, but as soon as you maybe make a little mistake or try and make a move and it doesn't pay off, you can be straight back a couple of seconds and into another battle with another car that was following you. So it's sort of what's happened here to Adam, and actually Jordan's starting to close up on Sean Evans here for P12. So he's got the foot down and just trying to make up some ground.
Yeah, and Canada Corner is a corner that's inevitable for contact, just in the way it sort of works out. You've got a wide exit that encourages guys to stick it around the outside and maintain the line. You've got a great braking zone that's a straight line, which allows drivers to attack under braking. In front of them, though, that's Todd Parks, so close to Jason Hyde. This front stretch, I talked about the final corner being crucial. You have to use that outside curb on the entry, or else you're not going to get a great run, as Greg Sharp as well, also close to David Baxter in front.
Yeah, there's like these two little battles. Wow, Hyde and Parks, they're really on it. Hyde was all on the right-hand side of the track, moved straight over to the left-hand side before the braking point for turn 1. He's really under pressure here from Parks. They've been going at it for the first couple of laps here, straight from the word go. They've been behind each other, and it looks like Parks just has a quicker car at the moment. Hyde missed the apex there, so Parks is going to have a good run down this back straight. He may be able to have a look going down into turn 5, coming through the turn 4 as they like to call it, and the Moraine sweep. He's going to be on the inside. Let's see whether he's going to get this job done. He's going to brake considerably late was Hyde as well, but I think he's going to get the move done. He's alongside him. They've given each other room, which is good to see. It's good to see some room given and not just biff and barge their way through up through turn 6. That blind corner, he's able to hold on there, and he's going to get that job done. So Parks move him up into P number 10, move Hyde back to P11, and coming up behind them is Sean Evans. So expect Evans to close in the next couple of laps to start to apply some pressure.
Yeah, and now he can see in front that Baxter and Sharp will be battling, so he just needs to make sure he stops mirror driving in terms of having Jason Hyde behind. That's just going to throw you off mentally. You just need to hope that the two in front start battling and they'll reel themselves back into you, because you've got 3 seconds after that. If you can pass Baxter and Sharp in front, you've got 3 seconds to make up on Richard Elwood in P7, which that comes pit stop time and all that kind of stuff. So if Parks is really ambitious this race, he'll play it 10th by 10th impatiently, as the gap to him and the cars in front is now 2 seconds. So let's see if that drops over the next few laps as Ian Ford looks to begin lap 6 of 39.
Yeah, he does. Just having a look back at this battle here between Jordan Murphy and Sean Evans. Jordan got the job done going into Canada corner really late in the brakes, got it done, got a little bit taily on the exit, but we thought Sean Evans was actually catching these two in front of him, but it looks like Jordan Murphy's the quicker one of the bunch. And just updating on that front, like you're saying, Ian Ford coming to start lap 6 as he did, but he lost a couple of tenths last time by to Josh Rogers, so the gap now down to 1.2, but they have got a massive lead over the rest of the field at the moment. 7.6 seconds is Mario Vlasic away from the lead, so that's just what it is at the moment. After 5 laps to have that sort of a gap, they are really pushing hard at the moment, and Cooper Murray is still under pressure from Sam Sutton, who looked like he got a great exit through turn 3. He may be able to have a look going down into turn 5 through the Moraine sweep. Let's see whether Cooper Murray will hold the inside line. He doesn't. He's going to leave that door open, and down the inside goes Sutton. He actually led him through. He didn't make that too hard for Sam Sutton, realised he was faster, so led him back through, and he's got that job done. So Sam Sutton up into 4th. He'll be trying to push now to catch Mario Vlasic.
Yeah, that's important, as Vlasic isn't necessarily struggling, but these guys here are about a second slower than the 2 leaders of Ford and Rogers, so this is sort of a battle for that final podium position as Sutton rounds the hurry downs. Look at Vlasic going off the racetrack, so some unforced errors at this stage of the race. That's quite early to be making these kinds of errors. You should really already be in a rhythm at this stage on lap 6, but as Cooper Murray is still hounding Sam Sutton. Now we head towards the kink here at turn 11. It's important to use this outside curb. That's so critical, and we saw before one of the drivers going off the racetrack. Even with the outside curve, Sutton struggles to keep all 4 wheels on the track, so it's really important to widen your line through that corner, and that allows Sutton right now, by doing that, to reel in Vlasic in front. He's only half a second behind now, and if he can keep persisting, he might even get him on the main straight.
Yeah, you may even be able to get him going down to turn 1. He's gained a lot of time, Sam Sutton, and Cooper Murray hasn't really just dropped off the back. He's still hanging on. He's just trying to keep that elastic band so that he doesn't drop off him and lose all that ground that he's got. He's going to try and have a move here, will most likely on Mario Vlasic at the same time as Sam Sutton does. So we'll see when that happens, but Sutton has gained a lot of time. The gap now, down to about half a second on the front straight. And just having a look now back here, we've got Todd Parks is now gone up into, as we've had Baxter has actually ran wide on the final corner and lost all that ground, so he succumbed to the pressure from Greg Sharp, has lost that ground, and now Parks and Hyde have gone through on him and has lost him all the way down that into P number 11 at the moment.
Yeah, as they round past turn 3. If you're wondering, this is turn 3. The little kink before is turn 2. And I'm not sure, to be honest with you, why that's a turn, but it is anyway, technically, when this circuit was mapped out. Nevertheless, here's Hyde having a look at Parks. They both made their way past Baxter, as we mentioned before. And Hyde now a bit too far behind, so rational thinking there in terms of the way he's attacking. Murphy behind also being aggressive. Love some of the liveries on this car too, they look beautiful on these cars. Sam Sutton's 2 tenths behind Vlasic, so as I spoke about before, Vlasic has made a couple of unforced errors, and he hasn't found his rhythm right now. It's important that he doesn't crack under pressure, really. If he's going to get past, he needs to make sure he loses as less time as possible.
Yeah, that's right, and it's good to see Vlasic up in P3. He hasn't been up the front in a long time. He's been hovering around 10th to further on back in a lot of the races this season. So to see him up in the top 3 or top 5 as a fact now, he's doing a great job, but he's under a lot of pressure from Sam Sutton, and he's still holding his own. He actually gained a little bit of time through the kink there, and he's going to come into Canada corner comfortably holding onto that position. So every lap that ticks by here, Sam Sutton is losing time to those leaders, and that's what he'll be wanting to try and make up. At the time of moment, he's just losing time. At the line, they were about 8 seconds behind. I think they'll be about 9 to 10 seconds again. So as Sam Sutton's all underneath that rear wing of Mario Vlasic, he's harassing the back of the Holden Commodore in front of him. Let's see whether the hyper-stimulator Holden Commodore for TTO of Sam Sutton will be able to make a move going down into turn 1. He's going to be sucked right into that draft. He's going to get a good run, as there's an ERA car on the left-hand side. I think that's Luke Harvey coming back out, but Sam Sutton's going to get that job done. Vlasic didn't make it easy, but still gave him the room. and that'll move him down into P number 4. He's going to have another look back, but he's got to worry about Cooper Murray now. Cooper Murray will be all over the back of Mario Vlasic and could be prone to making a look down here into turn 5 as he's right underneath the rear wing again.
Yeah, it seems Murray almost bump drafted him, and he's looking to do it again here on the straight. Have no clue why this is happening. This quick little bump draft once again into the braking zone. So Vlasic is really torpedoed away in a good way, not a Kvyat way, as Murray right now tries to exit the corner cleanly. Oh, look at that as well. Vlasic going defensive, but Murray's going to have a look up the inside. Oh, what a straightforward move by Cooper Murray. And that's just class there. That's, you know, pushing him, making him think that you're going to work with him. Instead, he just makes the move very, very simple. So, very interesting tactics there from Cooper Murray.
Yeah, he did a good job there. It was a textbook move, got the pass done up going into turn 6, done it cleanly. Vlasic gave him a little bit of room on the exit. So now those two have been let free from Vlasic. Let's see what they can do. They've got a 10-second gap to try and make up to Josh Rogers and Ian Ford in front, which I think is highly unlikely that they're going to make it up. But the pit strategy could play into their hands. They could maybe fill up now and put a lot more fuel in the car now, as they've got a 78.4 litre tank in them today, not the 112 litre normal tank. So that little bit of strategy that will play out, we'll see how that works with these two. They will be one to watch and how much time they'll be actually able to gain on Rogers and Ford. But besides that, I think they're in a good position. As just having a look now as Todd Parks locked the rears going into Canada corner, but he is now caught up to Greg Sharp. Let's see what he can do. Whether Parks, he's got the pace, he's left the cars behind him, and he's now caught up to Greg Sharp here, but whether he'll be able to make a move quickly and try and gain Richard Elwood in front, we'll see what happens from there.
Yeah, it's 4.6 seconds, so it's an optimistic gap. Just remember, when they do enter the pit lane, there's a small little bump. This is a laser scan version of the track. All tracks on iRacing are laser scan. For anyone that's new to iRacing, welcome. And it's important that they have practiced their pit entries. Being an official series race, some drivers just come in with no practice. Probably, I bet you Ian Ford hasn't even practiced for this, and he's leading away by 3 laps. So the point of it is that who has practiced their pit stops, who will be caught out by the small bump. We know these V8 Supercars are able to take high curbs and high bumps well, so it won't affect them too much, but at the same time it could unsettle drivers as they brake in the high or uphill braking zone into the pit lane when that comes up.
Yeah, that's right, and it's same thing. A lot of these cars coming under the brakes here right now. Parks and Sharp had a look, but yeah, the bumps unsettle these cars a little bit. They're usually alright over the bumps, but at the moment the cars can be a bit taily action. But we're just having a look. I think there's a mechanical failure for Rogers, I'm hearing. Yes, he has. So an issue for Josh Rogers, a technical issue at the moment, and Josh Rogers is right now out of P number 2, so that is unfortunate for Josh Rogers. Was driving an excellent race up there, was sort of losing a little bit of ground there to Ian Ford, but was still in the hunt, and the technical issue has forced him out.
Yeah, and that's quite demoralizing for him. You won't want to think about that too much, but hey, he was having a great race, top 2 finish for sure in this event, minimum at least, if he kept everything clean. So in the end, hey, it's just racing. It's not the end of the world. He'll be back out next week and racing hard as usual.
Yeah, that's right. He'll be back, and back on that is the Ford. How much practice Ian Ford? I know he's had a lot of practice. He's actually watching some of the races earlier on. He's won 3 races this week with different strategies. So different strategies can lead to still an overall victory. So it'll be interesting to see how Ian Ford takes that with how he's going to take that. And based on his past victories, which strategy he's going to go with. But Parks right now, the battle for P8 and 9 is all over the back of Greg Sharp. Let's see whether he's going to be able to have a run down the front track. I don't think he's close enough, but he's going to be in that draft, so it could help him here. Coming down into turn 1, we'll see whether he has a look, whether Sharp plays defensive or not. He isn't, so Parks is going to go down the inside into turn 1. Sharp leaves him room, gives him the position, so good driving there, and Todd Parks moves himself up into P8.
Yeah, you use those cones as brake markers, especially for Parks. He's on the inside. He might not be able to see his typical brake markers, so he's looking for the cones, looking for that same point. That's where you really have to have multiple points sometimes in case you can't see your traditional brake marker. On that note, there's a good story. A couple of years ago, racing here, 2 laps ago, 3 drivers battling for the lead. someone took out the cones at turn 1 and we all went off into the wall with 2 laps to go. So P4 ended up winning the race when we all DNF'd with damage. And the guy who took out the cones was the guy who was P1 and ended up spinning midway through the race, ended up putting himself a lap behind. So conspiracy theories today could still come into play. If Josh Rogers manages to get back in this race with the technical issues, he could take out those brake markers. I'm not accusing him of any malfeasance or anything, but you never know. Anything can happen in motor racing and sim racing.
That's 100% true. Take out the cones and hopefully help Sam Sutton. You never know what goes on. A lot of the teams are having all the debate over what goes on, but at the moment Ian Ford out in front now by 12 seconds over Sam Sutton for TTL, with Mario Vlasic now still got a podium position, even though he's actually jumped Cooper Murray, so he's got that position back. So just having a look at that, Mario Vlasic back up into P3, Cooper Murray down to P number 4 as we're coming up to finish lap 10, as Ian Ford will come up to start lap 11 of this 39 lap race here at Road America. And pit stop window will start to open if people are going to come in and put the sort of mix up the strategy with 13 to 14 lap stints and try and average out their tyre wear.
Yeah, it depends if anyone wants to pit earlier on than usual. Maybe undercut someone if they can't get past. It's not that difficult to overtake around here anyway. If you are genuinely faster than the car in front, you will make your way past using the long straights, using the slipstream too, as Cooper Murray needs to find his way back in front of Vlasic. And it's important as well, ahead of the pit stops, as Hyde enters the pit lane now. It's important to really get ahead of your competitors, give you that extra buffer, rather than taking the risks and trying to maybe undercut or overcut them in the pit stops, as Cooper Murray is very, very close to Vlasic now.
Yeah, Cooper Murray is all in that draft, and yeah, Hyde came in the pit stop, so he'll be trying to get an undercut on those guys he was battling with, but Vlasic on the defense here, coming into the turn number 5, sort of like a hairpin. It's pretty much a sharp left-hand corner, and he's just really good under brakes there. But Cooper Murray again up into turn 6, got the nose, got the better drive, and he's got it done again. But Vlasic is going to try and hold it tough. Can't go around the outside there. That's tough to go too wide. But this is on for young and old here, and Vlasic is going to have another look down the inside of Cooper Murray. Thought better of it. He's very late on the brakes there. Nearly tagged the back of the SimWorks ANZ Commodore, but Cooper Murray got that position done again up into turn 6, so he must like that opportunity.
Yeah, and I was going to say, Vlasic was maybe just letting him through, but he tried to fight back into the hurry downs. I just think Vlasic forgot of the fact that Cooper Murray passed him there last time around. He should have gone defensive, and that's just a bit of a brain lapse from Vlasic. And he's one of the 2 non-Australian drivers out here in the field, or at least oceanic drivers, or whatever the region's called. There's many, many names for Australasia, or as Vlasic now into Canada corner. Still can't make his way past, so I guess he could have been a bit smarter defensively. Maybe he didn't want to lose too much time. At the same time, let's see if any one of these top 4 enter the pit lane. Does Ford enter the pit? Sutton, Murray, Vlasic? Let's see.
Yeah, well, Ford stays out. That's the thing that's going to start to play out now. We've already had Hyde come in trying to get an undercut on his battle. These top 4 stay out as well. I want to see whether anyone back in the battle, so from about Greg Sharp onwards, was where Jason Hyde was, and see if any of them try and come in. And at the moment, no one is sort of vying for that option to come in the pit lane. So Hyde's come in early. He must have tried to just get that undercut on everyone, which will work, but then ultimately, depending on his fuel load, we'll see where he will sort of pop up when everyone else completes their first stops. They're still going to do 2 stops no matter what in this race. There's no real way around it. It just depends on how you want to play that strategy and which strategy you want to go with. As Javad Keeney's actually hit the fence, but it looks like he is alright at the moment.
Yeah, he's alright. He'll drop in tomorrow with another name and race hard again. As Aylward right now, he's only a 10th behind Matt Stratford, and he's looking into turn 5. Those stops, by the way, you're looking at one of the longest pit lanes in motor racing history. And at the same time, it's just important. Some drivers will want a 2-stop, but will anyone think of it? Might not be possible on fuel anyway, but in terms of, you want to make less pit stops around here anyway, because it's such a long pit lane. So that's another factor to come into play. But we spoke about fuel before, Jake, and before the race too, we're analysing it. It's going to be very hard to really one-stop this race.
Yeah, it is. actually, the early race, Ian Ford, I had a little bit of a talk with Ian Ford after the race, and he actually said he sort of did one stop it. He ran the first stint and fuel saved so that he could try and do a one-stop race. The only reason he came in for a second time was so that he could put tyres on it. So we only had to put in 10 or 15 litres in that secondary stop just to get it home. So he's done a great job there getting it to that sort of one-stop strategy, but he still needed tyres. The tyres aren't going to lap that sort of one stop around here, and he managed just to come in, get some tyres on it and go from there towards the end. But at the moment, this battle between Vlasic and Cooper Murray is still on. Vlasic hasn't let Murray get away, which I thought he was as well. A little bit of a bump and run coming through turn 14. He's going to get he's going to be on the inside, trying to get it alongside him, but he may have backed out of that after a little bit of a bump. But let's see what's going to happen here as Vlasic is going to go around the outside down this front straight. Let's see whether Cooper Murray can hang on this inside run. Little bit side-to-side contact, little bit of door rub, and he's tried to push Mario wide, and he has done that. So Murray holds onto that spot. Little bit of door rub, and let's get rid of the mirrors, but I don't think Vlasic will like that, and he may return serve again.
Yeah, hopefully there's no suspension damage either. Sometimes that can damage the front wheels and the way you steer the car. So let's hope Vlasic and Murray are both okay. It's very rare as well, but right now Vlasic, does he have a look into turn 5? It's important here. He has a small little peak. Is he going to return the favor on Cooper Murray? Just throw it up the inside of turn 6. That's what he needs to do right now. Just dive bomb right now. Murray's prepared for it. You can see doesn't take the ideal racing line, then he moves back onto it. So he was prepared for an attack on Vlasic. That would have been move of the day from me if Vlasic could have returned the favor on Murray, who did it to him twice.
Yeah, that's right. He would have been good to see that move get done. Just sort of, here we go, I'm going to do the exact same pass that you did, and I'm going to take it and run with it. But at the moment, Vlasic and Cooper Murray, I think this battle is going to rage on for the entire race. They're very similar on pace today, and it's good to see Vlasic up there. Like I was saying earlier, he hasn't had a good strong run in a while, so to see Vlasic sort of putting it up in the pointy end and racing these guys up front, it's good to see. And he's lost a bit of ground at the moment through this back section of the track, and may just be able to get a run, but I don't think he will. So lost ground at the moment from Vlasic, but he'll pick that up later on in this race. We all know that it's very deep under brakes in the Canada corner. He's trying to make up some lost time there, used all the exit road, so he's still pushing really hard, and up front Ian Ford stays out to do another lap. So a lot of these cars staying out, running alternate strategies, trying to figure out where they're at. I don't think any one of these top 5 will come in this time by. It would be interesting whether Vlasic dives in. He doesn't. So top 5 all pretty much staying out line astern at the moment, just trying to figure out what strategy they're going to play.
Yeah, you spoke about making up time as Vlasic right now has a look at Cooper Murray around the outside again. Murray just lets him through, it seems. Under braking though, Murray fights back and he might reclaim that 3rd position. They're going to be alongside each other on the exit of turn 1 past this turn 2 straight. Now towards turn 3. Look at that. Some strong defending there, Jake. As Vlasic might give him a tap on the exit. He has to be careful he doesn't turn him around. We saw that earlier on in the race. Vlasic now has the slipstream. It's going to be important to make a move at turn 5 or set himself up into turn 6.
Yeah, we're seeing that contact earlier on, and he's just shoved the nose down the inside there through Moraine Sweep. He's got the job done very late on the brakes. Does he pull it up? He does, but here we go. Will Cooper Murray have another look? He's set himself up well for turn number 6. He's not close enough though, so wasn't able to get the drive. And Vlasic back up into P number 3. And Murray again, he gets the job done, and then he can't pull away, which I thought he would have. He's a talented little young kid here for ANZ Motorsport who picked him up in the off-season. So he's talented, he can get the job done, and let's see what he can do here. He's all over the back, he's just harassing Vlasic at the moment. And let's see, through the carousel, he'll want to be setting him up already now for Canada corner. That's what he'll be thinking for, to have a look down there. He's just trying to get the run, and he has that. Oh, as he got sideways on that curb, it just lifted the rear. He got sideways. He managed to hold onto it. It's through the kink here. He'll want to try and get in the draft, set up a run going down into Canada corner. Don't know whether he'll be close enough to have a look this time by. Sort of lost a little bit of ground after going sideways, and he's not going to be close enough, so he's just going to have to follow him as they're both tailing on the rear end. They're both just starting to have a little bit of rear locking going on as the tyres start to wear out.
Yeah, both of them starting to get unsettled here. They've allowed Sutton to pull away. The gap between P2 now in this battle for third is 4 seconds on the racetrack. That's a tough asking to make up. Now, one stop is possible. Actually, take that away. Cooper Murray's entered the pit lane. Most likely could be a 2-stop. Has to be careful he doesn't speed. It's an uphill braking zone, so you can carry a lot more speed under braking because gravity sort of slows you down as you enter the pit lane. And this is just such a long time away. You could probably make a phone call in between the time you make to get into your pit box. But Cooper Murray just needs to keep this as fast and as clean as possible, because right now, if he lets Vlasic gain about 1 or 2 seconds on him, maybe that slipstream buffer for Vlasic when Murray might not be behind him, maybe that will help Vlasic break away, which he couldn't do before.
Yeah, that's right. Maybe they can make a tweet while they're in pits like Brad Keselowski did under red flag conditions at Daytona. They can sit there and have a little bit of a tweet going on down this long pit lane. And let's see where Hyde is. Hyde actually came in early. Hyde is now coming up the front straight now. So Hyde was the first one to come in. I think Cooper Murray he's still in the pit lane. So here comes Hyde coming down the front straight now for Performance Motorsport. Now he's going to jump them. So Hyde has done sort of an alternate strategy, and Matty Stratford's actually jumped Cooper Murray as well. So Murray in for a very long time there. Maybe playing a different card and trying to maybe do a longer stop now, get a little bit more fuel in the car. Maybe take him sort of self out of that battle with Murray or Vlasic so that he has a shorter stop towards the end. But he's now behind Matt Stratford, so he sort of put himself in another battle that he didn't need to be in the first place.
Yeah, so this is this is an interesting is now for Murray. Is not going to be straightforward for sure. We know that. Where he finishes is a different question. Can he get back onto the podium? It's very critical. So that battling with Vlasic cost him time. If he didn't spend so much time battling with him, he definitely would have been ahead of Stratford. Yeah. And that's one of the factors coming into play. Is a lap car in front. That's not a car that they're racing. Needs to get out of the way soon enough and let these guys race. And you know, part of the thing right now for Murray is you can just be patient in a sort of sense, because you've got fresher rubber and you've just come out of the pit stops. Now it's sort of like a new race for you almost. You know, it's just, you're battling for the same sort of positions in the end, realistically, when everyone makes their pit stops. But you just sort of use that little vitalization towards your race as they lap one of the other cars out of the way. And you know, it's a great sort of, as he gets very close to Stratford right now. The point I'm trying to get to finally is that Murray right now, he just needs to keep on pushing, can't put his head down, and I think he can get past Stratford soon enough, and maybe this might help him on his pursuit towards getting onto the final step of the podium.
Yeah, that's right. He sort of needs to put his head down. Stratford's in front of him at the moment. It will be a bit off-putting. He'll be like, I've lost that spot. He'll be wanting to push harder. But if he can manage this right now, he could easily be in a good position later on, like you were saying, Johnny. And if he can just calm himself now, get in a good composure, maybe get around Matty Stratford, maybe not. He'll know whatever strategy he's on, which I think has been a longer stop early on, because Jason Hyde's jumped them as well, who pitted from a long way back behind them. So to see Hyde in front of them guesses to me that they have both put, Matty Stratford and Cooper Murray have put in a lot of fuel. Cooper Murray more fuel than Stratford. So I think that all he needs to do is just be calm, drive his own race. He'll know that he's going to put in less fuel at the end, and that will be where he'll elevate himself up into the position he deserves to be in that final stint where he can push hard. This sort of middle phase of the race is where everyone sort of feels themselves out, and they don't need to get into a battle that they're not fighting for towards the end of this race. Actually, Cooper Murray was having a little bit of a look at Matt Stratford, filling up those mirrors, but wasn't able to get the job done. So he just needs to be a bit more patient, find his marks, get the job done, and then move on.
Yeah, as they wrap around turn 6, and then the horrible turn 7 kink. It's just a corner you want to take full throttle, but the angle of it and the radius just doesn't allow you. As they head towards turn 8 right now, Ian Ford finally into the pit lane, the leader, and it's let's see if he can one-stop this race. It's possible, probably not though. It's an interesting dilemma, Jake. You don't really know unless we had any data that comes through. Sam Sutton also enters the pit lane.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we don't know what strategies they're all on. They could be on completely alternate strategies. They could be three-stopping for all we know. That could be Hyde's idea right now. He could be three-stopping, which is highly unlikely because the pit transit time is so much greater than a lot of the other tracks that we go to. But yeah, Ian Ford and Sam Sutton both in the pits, which is interesting to see. Both of them came in and Vlasic stayed out for another lap. So I think that's a little bit of a different card, as Alwood's in as well, who actually missed his pit box. So he ran deep in his pit box, lost that time there. And let's see, Ian Ford's already coming out now, so he's done a good stop. He's on the exit. He's going to be having a look down. He's got one of the lap down cars, Sean Chappell, coming around there, who hasn't pitted yet. So he was able to get that job done, come into some nice clean air where he's got a good gulp of that he can sort of put his head down. And Jason Hyde's actually jumped Sam Sutton here. As we're having a look behind them, Cooper Murray is going to get that job done on Matty Stratford. So Cooper Murray has moved up, and Cooper Murray has gained time on Sam Sutton in comparison to where he was when he came in. So the fresher tyres have really helped some people, especially Jason Hyde, to be able to jump up in front of Sam Sutton from when he came in. I think he was down in 8th or 9th. So to do that, he's done a good job at the moment.
You know, it's important now because Vlasic is 1.1 seconds slower, so that battle between him and Murray is over. Vlasic is almost certainly going to come out behind Cooper Murray as Jason Hyde's pit stop too. That was about 10 seconds faster than Sutton. So that's you look at pit stop times, fuel taken, where you hit the box. I think it was Aylward we were talking about before. Aylward had to reverse into his box. When his pit stop was over, and I'm not trying to embarrass him here, but he accidentally reversed down the pit lane thinking he was in first gear. So a bit of confusion there for Richard Aylward, but he's out in the way. He's currently in P13, and some good battles here after the pit stop, something we've been waiting for this race.
Yeah, these battles are starting to develop, as that was Glenn Postlethwaite on the inside of Todd Parks. He's still there, but Todd Parks is going to hold on to that one. But there's heaps of cars here at the moment. We've got Sean Evans in front of Jordan Murphy and Adam Zenninger right now as this battle is lining up. And that is, Murphy's hit the back of Evans, and Evans somehow held onto it. Adam then got in the back of Murphy, and Adam hit the fence hard. That was a little bit of, clumsiness going into the kink that was not needed. So Jordan Murphy hit the back of Evans, was able to save it as Glenn Postlethwaite nearly drilled the back of Murphy, who's already got some damage. I'm surprised that Evans was able to hold on to that as well as he did. So we'll go back and have a look at the replay of that. So just coming through the kink, he got Murphy on the inside, tagged the back of him, and he got sideways, and then in the back of Murphy went Adam, and that was it. It was all over Red Rover for those two. So a little bit of an unfortunate incident there.
Yeah, that's the epitome of concertina effect, or a domino effect right there. One driver hitting the other, just sort of relates behind right now as Sutton is so close to Jason Hyde here for P2. He's going to have a look up the inside through the hurry downs. Downhill braking zone again. Oh, so deep under braking. Has he outbraked himself? He has indeed, but he keeps it together for the apex. On the throttle again. Does he maintain the quarter from Hyde? And yes, that's P2 for Sam Sutton, so good stuff there. Now he's got 13 seconds to make up on Ian Ford. Probably not going to happen as we approach halfway distance in this event.
Yeah, I think Ian Ford is sort of just stretching his legs at the moment out in front. He's got no one around him. He would have had Josh Rogers for company, but unfortunate to that, he technical issue there for Josh Rogers that put him out of this race. But that was just weird what happened there. With a little bit of Hyde, he locked Sam Sutton. He locked the left front under brakes, ran a bit wide, but Hyde still gave him the room. I think Hyde knows that his strategy is completely different to Sam Sutton, so he's not really battling Sam Sutton at this point in time. He's battling the heaps of people behind him, who is right now in a heated battle. Matt Stratford is sort of just clean away, but he's got this battle here between Greg Sharp, Richard Aylward, Todd Parks, and Jordan Murphy with the rear end damage at the moment, who is still out there on track. I don't know where Sean Evans and Adam Zenninger actually got to after the contact. That was very close from Parks. He had the rears locked a little bit. He's going to run wide. He's got Murphy now going to be harassing the back of that Eaton Commodore, and I don't think he'll be able to get it done. So the Pennzoil car right now, he was all over the back. He's got no rear wing, no boot, no nothing in that rear end of the car, so he's going to be struggling from rear end grip, but he's able to hold on at the moment. And actually good drive there from Parks to keep that position for synergy and not lose it.
And Murphy had to tap onto the brakes there on the exit of Canada Corner. That was how bad Parks' exit was, so it impeded Murphy quite a little bit, as Parks now has a small peek at Aylward. Drivers do that, but if Aylward's smart enough, he knows he's too far behind. And it's just a sort of a tactic to get you unsettled, as Parks runs a little bit off the racetrack into the grass. You saw the dust kicking up into the air. Lap 19 of 39, so we are indeed just approaching halfway distance after this lap, as now Parks has the slipstream. It's going to be optimistic into turn 5, the downhill braking zone, but it's still possible. Look how close he's getting to. The straight line speed on that car is incredible, but he's too cautious under braking, and he doesn't have the confidence at this stage of the race.
Yeah, that's right. He just didn't throw it down the inside to get the job done on Richard Aylward. He nearly got under threat there from Jordan Murphy behind him. He could have easily thrown it down the inside and gained a spot on Todd Parks, because he was unaware of what was going on. He was sort of half battling in front and behind him at the moment. He's sort of the meat and the sandwich of what to do, and Glenn Postlewaite behind them is just starting to range up on the back of them, so he could maybe play a little bit of a factor in this 4-car battle at the moment. But Richard Aylward has got everyone for company at the moment. He is trying to close in on Greg Sharp in front of him, who is a good 10 seconds down the road at the moment, so I don't think he'll be able to get to them, but he's got to hold off Todd Parks and Jordan Murphy, who look very hungry at the moment.
Yeah, and hungry is important. You're only halfway through the race, so you need to be fighting for every single second of position you have right now. It's not the early laps where you can be cautious and make up for it. On that note, I hate when... I don't hate it, but I dislike the used words when people say a driver needs to make up time. You're really driving as fast as you can for the whole race. It's not like as Aylward runs straight off the racetrack there at the Bill Mitchell Bend. If you make a mistake and then you got to make up time, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to crash. You can't make up time on a racetrack. You're just trying to minimize time loss. Just drive as fast as you can. It's a play on words that people use that really isn't correct most of the time. As Aylward now still has to defend from Parks and Murphy, but he's got a comfortable gap on this straight. He's coming up towards one of the lap cars in front. Greg Sharp, as you said before, he was about 10 seconds in front. It's 8.9 now to Greg Sharp. So after Aylward laps Harvey here, that's Luke Harvey in P20. After he laps him, let's see if he can keep closing that gap down. It's not impossible, as Harvey gets straight out of the way after turn 3.
Yeah, Harvey doing a good job there, staying in the way, and that's right. You got to minimise the time loss, especially around this sort of a racetrack. In such a long race, 39 laps. We've only just sort of crossed the halfway point of this race, and there's still half the race to go. And especially in 45 minutes at the moment, we're looking for about an hour and a half distance, and that's mentally taxing as well on the driver to make sure that they can get through the race. You are pushing the car to the limit as much as you can without going over that limit and putting yourself in a fence. That's the last thing you want to do. So you're going to be pushing, trying as hard as you can, and for the distance that this race is, it really starts to play a toll on the driver, the equipment, on everything that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And in a battle like this at the moment, where Parks is trying to catch Aylward, who's trying to catch Sharp, and Parks is also trying to defend from Murphy, who's trying to catch them behind him, you just have to be very cautious of what you're doing and push the car to that limit and not go over it, because as soon as you go over that limit and try and make up that lost time that you may have, like you were saying, it's not really making up that lost time, it's trying to minimize it. But if you try and do that and try and push the car over that limit, that's when the mistakes start to happen. And in these long races, the more mistakes will start to come over a longer distance.
Yeah, you don't want to be doing that at all, as a couple of teammates still in this field. Maybe they can help each other out at this stage of the race, hold a couple drivers up, not intentionally, but just make it very hard for them, make life hard, as Parks runs wide in the final apex corner, and he's a bit too far behind Jordan Murphy, so he's dropping back a little bit here from Aylward and Parks. So it's becoming a 3-horse race for P8. Oh, sorry, it was a 3-horse race, becoming a 2-horse race for P8 now. You know, you look back at teammates too. You know, are you going to work together with your teammates? You know, we know in sim racing, being teammates is a lot different to what would happen outside of virtual reality. Outside of virtual reality, there's always conflict and all that kind of stuff. And you know, there's a good saying, "They am what they am." You know, you don't want to deal with people who are a bit unselfish, as Murphy has a huge moment coming out of turn 3. You know, you want to have teammates that you're able to test with and make up a lot of time here. You know, and that's why Ian Ford's so fast as well. We've got a great team behind him, and you know, something that we've heard for quite a while anyway. As Parks right now still has a small little look at Aylward. Aylward's getting a bit feisty with the lines he's taking. They're not as he used to take. You can see the way that Parks right now, he's starting to feel like he can get past Aylward. He's taking some very wide lines. He seems to be closing the gap. He's very, very confident here, Todd Parks now.
Yeah, it looks like he's sort of calmed down the tyres, got the tyre temps to where he wants them, and the pressure's up to where he needs them. And now he's starting to put a little bit more pressure on Aylward as he comes through the carousel. He's right underneath that rear wing of the SimWorks Commodore now, so he's gained a lot of time this lap. Little mistake I seen early on in the lap from Richard Aylward. He ran wide at turn 3, but it just hurt his straight line speed going down that long back straight, but it sort of lost time everywhere else around this lap, as Todd Parks just running considerably nicer, cleaner lines at the moment. Just keep putting his car where he wants to put it, and he's going to be very deep under brakes here into Canada Corner, and he's going to pull it up nicely just behind him. So he's gained a good second here, and he's going to start to apply a little bit more pressure to Aylward over the next couple of laps. Maybe have a little bit more looks, just fill up those mirrors of Aylward, make Aylward think, and put him under a bit of pressure here. He's just sort of watching in front of him, trying to catch up, but as soon as Parks applies a little bit of pressure, he will sort of not worry about what's going on in front of him. You want to sort of worry about what's going on in front of you, but a lot of the time, as soon as you get in a battle like this, as Parks is ranging up on the back with the draft, he's going to have a look down into turn 1, but just doesn't have the confidence under brakes on Aylward to get the job done. He's sort of lining himself up for other places, and I think that's really hurting both of them right now, that they're just battling and nothing's really happening.
Yeah, well, he needs to get a good run out of turn 3, and he takes the worst line under braking that you could take, just off the line, off the racing line. No rubber there, no grip, and look at the time he's lost on the exit too. So not the smartest of overtaking moves from Todd Parks, but he has a chance to make up for it. It's not race over. He's got plenty of laps to go here. It's only lap 22 of 39, and he'll make his way past Aylward soon enough. Now remember that gap I spoke about before, Jake, between Aylward and Sharp? It's now down to 7.5 seconds. It is very, very possible here that these guys, if they don't spend the next 10 laps just side by side every single corner of the racetrack, they may be able to make time on Greg Sharp in P7.
Yeah, that's right. And as soon as they start to make time on Greg Sharp, they're also maybe making a little bit more time on Jason Hyde, who pitted early, was 10 seconds faster. So we'll see whether that will be how it's going to play out. We've got Hyde up there, and he may drop back to them. So I don't know whether that's going to play out how it will, but we'll see what that's going to do to them. But as that was Richard Aylward out in the grass, he's managed to pull it back on. He's just going to have to hold on. He's got Todd Parks now, going to range up in the back down into Canada Corner. Wasn't able to get it done, so a little bit of a mistake there from Aylward, and he was able to keep it back on the track, and now he's got Todd Parks ranging up all over the back of that SimWorks Commodore right now. He may be able to have a look going into the final corner. He just needs to set himself up here. He's going to try and get that run through turn 14. He's going to get that done coming down this long front straightaway right now. Let's see whether Parks can just stick his nose up down the inside into turn 1. He's going to be comfortably in the draft. He may not be close enough though to have a look going into turn 1. He's going to have a peek though. He had a little bit of a look through them. He's still having more of a look than I would have thought. He may have pulled back in, but he didn't, so he's ultimately lost a bit of time on the exit. Wasn't able to run his normal line, so he's dropped in a little bit behind, and they haven't really dropped off Jordan Murphy behind them in the Pennzoil Commodore. He's still sitting around there, just hovering around, just watching these two as he gets a little bit sideways there on the exit, just touching the grass with the left rear tyre, but was able to hold on to it. And let's see what's going to happen here with with Parks. I think he's not close enough again going down this long back straight, but Albert looks like he's under a little bit of pressure. Maybe the tyres aren't up to what he wants at the moment, making little mistakes here and there, but Parks looks like he has a more stable car and may be able to have another look through this tighter section of the track. He definitely has a nicer handling car at the moment, and he's just going to have another look here. We'll see what happens. He's not close enough going down into turn number 8. He's going to come up through the carousel. He was very close to the carousel a couple of laps ago, and he's going to be close again, but I don't think he'll be able to get it done, and he's just going to have to sit in behind him for another lap, but he's definitely closer than where he was before.
Parks right now, you know, the kink is crucial. He has to use the outside curb. They both do, so that's smart driving from them both. And look at that, Aylward straight off the racetrack. So Aylward putting a few wheels off the racetrack, falling under pressure with the steering angle and the speed he's carried through the kink, through Canada corner now. Both using and kicking up the dust on the inside of the corner. You can get away with that in the V8 Supercar here. Bill Mitchell bend, and you know, it just seems the drivers here today, either they haven't practiced much, but they just seem so different, as Cooper Murray is 1/10 behind. Look at how close he is to Jason Hyde under braking into turn 1.
Yeah, he's very close. We sort of lost this one as Hyde's actually run off. He ran wide. Cooper Murray threw the nose down the inside, and Hyde's ran wide there at turn 1. Was not expecting that. That sort of grew up and just sort of put it on the table there that we weren't watching. And so Cooper Murray's now put himself up into P3. Hyde is down into P4, and he's lost a little bit of ground now after that little mistake. And he's got Matt Stratford and Mario Vlasic is still gaining a little bit of time now. He's obviously had a little bit of a longer stop there, but he's down in P6 at the moment. He was on for a podium at the early stages, but that's sort of where he's at the moment, down in P number 6. And Ian Ford, just updating, the lead of this race is 16 seconds in front of Sam Sutton. So that's a big tall order for Sam Sutton to try and crawl back.
Yeah, and you don't, you know, he's got enough time to tweet from the car, but we don't support using a mobile phone during the car or anything like that, any kind of electronic device, as Ford does indeed lead by a country mile right now. His lap time seemed to have dropped off a little bit, so maybe he's just taking it easy, or might not even be stopping for the rest of the race, who knows. Vlasic now, this is an interesting point. Some people could have said he should have pitted earlier. I think he should have, but it's not game over, because now his tyres are much fresher. It won't be too obvious, and lap time right now, you know, in comparison to Cooper Murray, let's see this time around, he was a tenth slower than Cooper Murray, faster than Hyde and Stratford last time around. Now remember that they were battling this lap, so who knows if Vlasic can maybe just reel them in, hopefully, with this fresh rubber, and that's sort of something that could come into play. But is it, you know, is it that big of an advantage now for Mario Vlasic to pit later and have fresher rubber? Is it big enough to reel the other guys in front as they all enter the pit lane and just ruined everything I said over the past 60 seconds?
They just absolutely went against everything you were saying there, Johnny, as Hyde comes in, who I was expecting maybe around this stage of the race to come in. Unsure of his strategy at the moment, but I was a bit unusual to the fact that Matty Stratford came in. He only just came in pretty early on. He came in around lap 15 with the rest of them. So to see him come in now again, he's only done 10 laps on the tyres. Unless he really only put a little bit of fuel, he did that short stop and he's going to go for the longer stop now. That's sort of what I'm putting that down to. But an interesting bit of strategy there from Matty Stratford to come in as early as he did. But it really just unleashed Mario Vlasic to try and gain on Cooper Murray, who actually gained a good 8/10 of a second last time by. So that's a good gain there from Vlasic that he may be able to pick up. We do know Cooper Murray had put the pass on Jason Hyde, and if he can keep that up though, Murray's time will obviously drop. But if Vlasic can keep trying to just crawl in a little bit, depending on their strategy for their final stop, depending on who has to put in more fuel, we could maybe get a bit closer at the end.
Yeah, certainly. Excuse me as we wait for Ford. Let's see if he comes into the pit lane. There's so many dilemmas to face here. You know, Road America, is just one of those racetracks where, you know, some people like it, some people hate it, but it's a great racetrack in terms of technicality with setup. You know, you got some bumps, some long radius corners, you've got some great braking zones too, undulation, you've got everything in one. So it's a great test out here for the drivers that have weaknesses in their driving style. For example, maybe a driver is not the best at braking. You know, at Road America, you can't have weaknesses. It's one of those tracks you won't get away with, whereas, you know, it's somewhere like Silverstone, there's not that many braking zones, at least in an F1 car, so you can get away there with being faster. So here today, Ford seems to have just maximized his ability everywhere, as he always does. He's the #1 driver out here for a reason. And we look at drivers who have made their way up through the field. Sam Sutton from 10th on the grid, up into 2nd. Then Sharp from 12th to 5th. Hyde from 14th to 6th. They have that Postlewaite right now. He's currently in the 10th position, started in 23rd out of 24 drivers. So good to see him make his way up through the order.
Yeah, it's good to see him make it. It's his first race here for SDRT in the top split, so it's good to see him actually doing a great job up inside the top 10 at the moment, down in P number 8 actually. So he's gained a couple of positions with the others stopping. And I just want to bring that, we've got Daniel Ackland coming into the pits. I don't know whether Hyde and Stratford can make it the whole way. I'm saying they can. They most probably can. 15 laps actually. They most probably will be able to make it towards the end. But it's interesting to see where Hyde is in comparison to Matty Stratford. Hyde did come in his first stop. He came in a long way down compared to Stratford. I think Stratford was 5th at the time, behind Murray and Vlasic, who were having a good battle. And Hyde came in from around 10th, and he's not that far behind him at the moment. He's only about 3 seconds actually, behind him. So to be that sort of close in comparison, Hyde has made a lot of ground in comparison to where he was at the track before all the pit stop strategy started.
Yeah, so at this point of the race, with Baxter right now 7.6 seconds behind Postlewaite. You know, I'm just having a look at who can battle who come the end of the race. And, you know, you can see that rubber line just getting darker and darker. That helps with tyre wear too, as there's more grip on the racetrack. So still a very hot track, 46 degrees as always. We look at the winds, west 9 kilometers an hour, so it's not that harsh on the drivers here today anyway. And yeah, the wind direction makes a huge difference. You know, that turn 9-10 carousel with wind direction, that does make a huge difference sometimes in terms of testing and the balance of the car. If you change it around, you look at the kink too. Some drivers can go full throttle through there maybe sometimes with the right sort of wind speed and direction. So another factor that comes into play is now Greg Sharp in the pit lane.
Yeah, that's right. The wind direction will always play a factor in this race, and especially with these cars over certain parts of the track, it can really unsettle the car a little bit, especially with the setups are a major thing. And as we see Greg Sharp come in the pit, so he will be coming out around Jason Hyde, I suspect. I think that's where he's going to be coming out around. Don't know. Depending on his strategy, he's still in the pits now as Jason Hyde is coming down the front straight, so we'll see whether Hyde will get it done. I think he's going to get it done cleanly, as Greg Sharp is still in his pit box. He hasn't left us yet, as Hyde goes screaming on by him down the front straight as Sharp just leaves his box. So Hyde has made up a lot of ground in comparison to where he was at the start, and he will put himself ultimately in a good position here, maybe even a top 5 finish if he keeps going the way he is. But at the moment, yeah, I don't know whether Vlasic, he isn't gaining much time. He gained 2/10 last time by on Cooper Murray. I think Vlasic now needs to maybe try and undercut again and just try and jump him that little bit more. We know Cooper Murray came in a couple of laps earlier than Vlasic the last time round, and that's where the gap is at the moment. The gap is of where they're at of that pit stop strategy. So if Vlasic can come in a little bit earlier and punch out some fast laps straight on the fresh tyres, that gap may close down a little bit at the end, but then we don't know what fuel they've got to put in the car to get to the finish. So we'll see how that one sort of plays out. I think that could be the battle that will rage on at the end for P number 3.
Yeah, and Vlasic did pit on lap 17 of the event, so it would be very optimistic to go halfway. We got Holdens and Fords out here this afternoon. Ian Ford's driving a Holden. You think they should bring in Volvos, Mercedes, everything like that? Obviously with different, as Cooper Murray enters the pit lane, do you think they should bring in different types of models, sort of how they have with the GT3? It might actually support this series a little bit more and get bigger fields, get more people racing. And it's ironic as well because it is, like 10 a.m. in the morning on a work day in most places in Europe anyway. So at least for the Australian drivers, it'll attract more drivers to the series.
Well, that's right, and I think also the thing that's sort of steering people away is Murray is in the pits, he's doing that service now, is the car isn't up to, I don't want to say it isn't up to scratch, it's having some problems at the moment. Some of the Australian community know that, and it's getting looked at. So for next season, I suspect there will be a lot of people coming to this car and going to come out. It's actually Murray.
What are those
is coming
issues?
out. The issues that we've got at the moment, I know as a driving standpoint, the car has a lot of pogo. The suspension isn't exactly what it should be, and that's evident throughout both the cars, the Ford and the Holden. It's pretty much all that's different on either of them is the exterior. The main basic physics model and everything is the same, and also these cars are running on older tyre models at the moment, so the tyre wear in that is completely different to other cars in the service. So that's all getting an overhaul for next season. So I suspect there will be a lot of older drivers like Madison Down, maybe Richard Hampstead, a couple of the TTR, other TTL drivers, etc., all coming back and having a good red hot go at official series when this car gets a full refurbish and it will be up to scratch to where everything else is. And then I think we will see maybe the old Mercedes. I know it's not run in V8s anymore, it's not in the series at the moment for this season. I don't think it will be obviously in the seasons to come, but with the whole rule change of V8 Supercars coming up in the next year actually, where they're all changing cars and engines, maybe 6-cylinder turbos, like all this other stuff that's coming along that's going to change V8 Supercars, could see us get the older generation cars of the Volvo, the Mercedes, the Nissan Altima, and also maybe the FGX. We haven't seen the FGX, and a lot of people are speculating, and I also may think that we may get the FGX in the next build, but we haven't actually had any confirmation in iRacing terms of any idea of whether they've actually laser scanned it, etc. So whether or not that's just a hit and run out of left field, not going to happen at all, whether we get an updated FGX body compared to the FG, who knows. But hopefully when they refurbish this car for next season, it's going to liven up this series again, and we will see some of the old guys, I'd say, coming back and having a red hot go to try and take some of this championship away.
But wait, you say that in terms of the pogo suspension, all that kind of stuff. Now, I know Shane Van Gisbergen drives in iRacing, and he's probably watching now because he has nothing better to do. But in terms of how are you supposed to know that the car doesn't behave like it should? Like, is a V8 Supercar driver testing this car and saying it shouldn't? Because there are people out there who will, as Cooper Murray laps one of the lap cars here. I thought he was having a go at someone for position, but that's just a lap car. Unless you've got someone, like some people in a Formula 1 car will say, oh, hey, this doesn't behave the way it should. Yeah, we understand you have the instincts for it, but you've never actually driven it. So, maybe iRacing's got some great testers behind the scenes doing that, but how are you supposed to criticize the car when you've never actually driven the thing? I can swallow my words, actually, if you tell me that there is someone who's actually driven the car and driven the iRacing version and said this needs to be changed. And obviously, rightly so, iRacing are going to be doing that next season, so that's a good thing to see.
Yeah, well, I can just maybe swallow that pill a little bit for you there, Johnny. It's funny because when we know a lot of the V8 drivers come on, especially the Aussie community, we have Van Gisbergen who runs iRacing a lot. There's also Fabian Coulthard, Nick Percat, a couple of the other big names. I think Frosty's on, Mark Winterbottom's on a couple of times. I have seen his name hover. I know Lee Holdsworth is also on. And in comparison to them, when you see those guys driving GT3 cars at Bathurst to practice for the Bathurst 1000, not the V8 Supercar, tells us there's something wrong with the V8 Supercar. That sort of especially when they're practicing in a GT3 car for Bathurst and saying, we don't know what they're saying, but when you see that sort of a server with all them in there, you got to sort of think, is that what they're comparing the V8 closest to at this present time? And I know there's been a lot of speculation in the Australian community that, yes, the GT3 is the closest to the V8 at the moment, and I think that's what everyone is leading to, as Todd Parks is in the pit lanes at the moment, just going to do his final stop of this race. So I think that sort of puts the question out there. Maybe that's why they're practicing in the GT3 cars for such a big event like the Bathurst 1000, because that is the closest that iRacing has at the moment, when they're not even battling and doing testing in the actual V8 Supercar. So hopefully this whole new refurbishment that they're doing with new sounds and everything that's going to make it more realistic, hopefully maybe we'll get the sort of these pro race drives in there at the moment.
Yeah, well, we know iRacing working hard behind the scenes. Hopefully Imola comes soon. That's a great racetrack that's under production. Maybe that gets on the V8 calendar. That would be an entertaining race in these cars. We've never seen it out in the real world, but anything is possible in the virtual environment. As Vlasic now into P3, so we look at Cooper Murray right now. But Vlasic has made his way back up into the third position. Ford's driving very, very slow, and he's probably not going to pit for the rest of this race. I really hope that Vlasic ends this race with his one and only pit stop that he's made, because he will have a podium in his hands. He's got 31 seconds. Even if you back off by a second a lap, you can still fuel save. So it's just important to sort of listen to Vlasic. Does he coast and brake into corners and coast and lift, and just save a bit of fuel? Maybe here into turn one, that's a possibility you could be facing as we have a listen.
Yeah, he actually was going pretty flat out there into turn one, so unsure. He's done a good job there. He's still going along at the moment. He's just driving around, maybe just trying to conserve his tyres for late run. But Ian Ford is definitely slowing down up front. He did a 2-minute 14.6 last time by, compared to a 2-minute 11.7 from Sam Sutton. So that's definitely closing up a little bit there. And just with that pit stop from Todd Parks, it's moved him a long way back. It's elevated Cooper Murray and Matt Stratford into P5 and 6 respectively. Little David Baxter here for Redback Racing TV. We'll give him a little bit of a plug, and doing a good job at the moment up in P4, just been the silent sort of achiever of this race, just driving his own race, getting the job done, and that's where he sees him right now up in the P number 4. Obviously we'll have another stop to go at the end of the race somewhere along the way, but we'll see what happens there. And going back to that point that we were making with the new cars and all the refurbishment, iRacing do an amazing job with it, and we all know that. So whatever they come up with and whatever the car gets the updates with, I think they will be pointing in the right direction, and I think it's going to just liven everything up, and it'll be interesting to see how everyone reacts to it in the sense of the community, and see how many people we can bring on board. Like you're saying, Johnny, there's a lot of people over in Europe, it's their morning, they're not going to be coming on and racing, but maybe the new car may just reach out to some of those guys to say, hey, we can run this, we can compete with them, and let's go give it a run. We'll see how that all plays out.
Yeah, I joked about it in the Kia Cup a few weeks ago, which is broadcast on Wednesday nights on Motorsport TV and iRacing Live, and that it was good to see so many Australian drivers awake at 8 AM on a work morning racing out there in the Kia Cup. That's a joke, by the way, there was 0. So time zones are an issue in sim racing. At least this race does support the Australian community a bit. Holds a strength of field race for the Australians. Obviously these are Australian cars anyway, so it's not like this time should be catered towards anyone else, and that's not saying that anyone else don't deserve. You know, I'm just digging myself in a hole here. It's gotten so deep, you could probably build a racetrack underneath it. I don't know what I'm saying anymore. But the point is that Vlasic in P3 now, as we concentrate back on him, he's sort of lapping in the 2-minute 12.5 range as David Baxter enters the pit lane. So Ford's gone into the 2-minute 13, 2-minute 14 range. Vlasic in the 12.5s. You don't know whether they're going to enter the pits and get a quick splash and dash. It's a little too late. Baxter enters the pits, but you're not sure whether Ford and Vlasic will do the same.
Whether Vlasic, even Sam Sutton.
And Sutton, yeah.
Sutton, yeah, is gaining on Ian Ford because he's saving fuel or something at the moment to try and maybe make this on a one-stop strategy. It's different. I haven't seen the one-stop strategy this week. From what we were all talking about, it was definitely going to be a two-stop. So we'll see what Ian Ford does. And maybe you'll see me in the Kia Cup. Maybe I'll have to jump in there and run into that race. So we'll see what happens there, whether I jump in the Kia. I have run the Kia for a little bit. It's a different car for me, but 8 o'clock in the morning is a bit different. Yeah. We'll see.
You're good in the Kia. You'll win that race if you showed up right.
Maybe. Actually, I have run a couple of races in the BSRTC and I came actually fourth on last weekend. But we won't get into that. That's Kias. We won't go down that route. We'll keep up with the V8 race that we got going on here. And Ian Ford, once again, just coming across the line right now. 2 minute 12.1, so he's picked up the pace again. Maybe he saved a little bit of fuel and just tried to get it going. As actually, just having a look, Sam Sutton pits, as we've got a battle down here at the moment between... I've lost that, but actually, no, I picked it up. We've got a battle here between Daniel Ackland and Glenn Postlethwaite with a lap car in the middle of the moment of David Baxter. Actually, no, he's not. He's just come out of the pits. So David Baxter will be on cleaner rubber with Daniel Ackland, and we'll see. He's got that job done. He's going to keep moving on ahead, so Daniel Ackland won't be able to close that gap anytime soon.
Oh, Sutton pits. So yeah, sorry, I'm not sure if you mentioned that, but Sutton does enter the pit lane. So Ford, Vlasic now P1-2. Can Ford... He's got a bigger gap now to save fuel. So does Ford keep taking the risks? He's now 20 seconds in front of Mario Vlasic. But if it comes to a Felipe Massa 2009 at Spain, where you go 8 seconds a lap slower, you might as well just pit right now. So he's really got to calculate this carefully. And whether he has a spotter or not, there's no one there's no one actually officially spotting him now, but you never know if someone unofficially is doing it for him. That's someone that could really help him out with calculations, or else he'll have to do what I did a couple times last year and drive with one hand and a calculator in the other. And then, you know, that didn't work out well, so I started having to do decimal multiplication in my head for about 3 laps. Probably why I didn't finish so many races in my career. Anyway, as Sutton right now exits, he's still in P3 and he's going to claim a podium. So good to see Sam Sutton having a strong race.
Yeah, it's good to see Sam Sutton from 10th on the grid. So obviously qualifying wasn't his strong suit this week, and he'll be up there in the podium positions. Whether it's second, who knows? Let's see what Vlasic does, and let's see what Ford does. That's another card that will play out. And I know Ian Ford will have someone from ERA. I know I would usually be spotting for him or racing, so it's either that as Ian Ford. He's actually coming in the pits now, so unsure as to why, unless he was doing what he did in the earlier race and saving a little bit of fuel, so all he has to do is have the time to put fresh rubber on and doesn't have to sit there for longer than he should. So we'll see what he does here, but he'll have either Brenton O'Brien, the team boss for ERA, will most likely be around spotting for him, and hello Brenton, and not having you in the commentary box. We've got Johnny Simon, and they just leave it like that with Johnny in the comms box and leave Brenton's on the shadows. No, we love you, Brenton. It's always good to have you here. And just Vlasic stayed out.
Yeah. So Vlasic stayed out.
Yeah.
Can he win the race?
Interesting.
Let's go.
Who
cares if you finish third? No, hey, I say this, right? It's the official series race. Don't finish third. No one cares about P3. No one remembers P3. Just stay out. Fuel save your behind off. I was going to say something else. And he just needs to get everything right. Now, remember the lap he pitted here. This is an interesting question. He pitted on lap 17. Ian Ford entered the pits on lap 16. So does that extra lap help Mario Vlasic out? That's a huge question to ask. If not, I think Vlasic will still have a podium on his hands. He's not lapping that slow in comparison to Cooper Murray in P4, but it will be interesting to see if, Vlasic, he can't go 5 seconds a lap slower unless it's really 3 laps to go, you could say.
Yeah, I'm actually really puzzled as to why we haven't seen Vlasic pit for a second time. Obviously, Ian Ford has pitted, got his second stop done out of the way, which we were thinking that it would be a 2-stop race, and Ian Ford obviously was saving a little bit of fuel to make that final stop a little bit shorter, but Vlasic is just, this is really summed up this race right now. The strategy is going all out the window. Yeah, it really has. And I don't know what Vlasic is going to do here. We'd all like him to stay out. I think if he stayed out and took this win away from everyone and said, I did this on one stop, you know what I mean? Like you were saying, it's an official race. If he can win this and take it, that'll be an amazing drive from Vlasic, but I don't know whether the fuel tank is big enough to do it on the one stop. If he can, though, he has driven an amazing race, and let's see whether he pits this time by coming around turn 14 now. Looks like he's heading to the pits. No, don't do it. Stay out. Damn it. No Vlasic. So, Vlasic is in the pits.
No, he doesn't take it. I was going to say there's a small gap. He could have just peeked back onto the racetrack, but he's actually entering the pit lanes. So Ian Ford's going to win this race if he keeps it together, obviously. But this is important now. Getting serious is that Vlasic has to just maintain his podium. So he's going to have a quick splash and dash. Won't be the longest pit stop in the world. So Ford and Sutton went for about 15 seconds. So that's why Vlasic can get away here with this pit stop. Sutton's only about... Well, where is Sam Sutton? Sam Sutton is
just
currently on the main straight.
Now.
Yeah, so Vlasic right now will exit, and he should be ahead of Cooper Murray comfortably, obviously, of course.
Oh, well, Cooper Murray just crossed the line now, so like we were saying, this battle could start to rage up towards the end. Here comes Murray behind him, so he's actually leapfrogged Cooper Murray in the pit stop. Murray was ahead of him before after the first round of stops, and now Vlasic has taken that position back, so I think this will start to liven up. Cooper Murray will want to get that position back, but Vlasic will be on fresher tyres and will try and pull away as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And we will see whether that plays out.
Yeah. It's not funny though. I mean, Vlasic could have won this race, but obviously logically, you know, it takes a big hit on iRating as Murray locks up incredibly hard into the fifth corner. And Vlasic doesn't want to lose too much iRating. It takes an eternity to make that back up after such a long race too. So that's important right now that Vlasic just maintains his podium. Does have fresh rubber. Cooper Murray did make his second pit stop around about 7 laps ago. So he won't have the upper hand right now on Vlasic. But can Vlasic heat up those tires quickly? It's a very hot track, 46-degree temperature, but you don't want to grip up the core temperature rather than just the outside. So it does take time to do that. You can't just do it with temperature itself. But right now Murray's 1.4, so he's gaining 10th by 10th here on Vlasic. Can Vlasic maybe find his rhythm here with a lighter car? That's important.
Yeah, that's right, and it's a hotter track temp as well, and I think that's also going to help with getting the tyres up to temp a little bit quicker than usual. If the track was dead bone cold, he'd be understeering and struggling to keep the car on the road on the first lap. The tyres just can't grip up that quickly, so let's see. I don't know whether Murray will have the tyre life in him to be able to keep the pace up and be able to gain on Vlasic. Vlasic only has a handful of laps to go, around 4 laps to go now as he crosses the start line. So all he needs to do is put out 4 quick qualifying laps and he will have that position done. But when they crossed the line, it was only 1.3 second in it, so that's not much. And if Cooper Murray can gain a couple of tenths here or there over the next 4 laps, he could be on his rear bumper and they could be battling on the final lap for the final step on the podium.
Yeah, as Vlasic right now, they're comfortably on the podium. I think he's comfortably there. You know what? Take that back, because Murray right now has got a little bit of a slipstream. People think it doesn't come into effect 1.1 seconds away, but it ever so slightly does. It's 0.9 the gap now. So this is important. 0.8 the gap now on the relative timing screens. Get the exit out of turn 6 as Vlasic runs incredibly wide. Get in the slipstream here through the kink. Just stay in the slipstream. That's all you need to do, Cooper Murray. And he's now 6 tenths behind Mario Vlasic for the final podium position. So on the exit, once again, he needs to just maintain the same lines that Vlasic is taking, take the slipstream on the straight, and it will make his job so much easier when he wants to make an overtaking move.
Yeah, if he can get that slipstream done down this back straight, he'll be able to have a look in the next couple of laps. It looks like he's done that, so this slipstream has really just closed these two up for the final step on the podium, and he's going to be right in that draft. All Cooper Murray needs to do is stay in that draft, and he'll be able to get it done. He's going to be very close coming down to Canada Corner. Can he maybe have a look? He doesn't. He stays in behind, just not close enough at the moment. But he could have a look going down into turn 1, whether or not that's going to be viable option, whether he sits out and maybe waits going down into turn 5 after the long back straight. He may be doing it there, but he's having a little look. He's definitely got the eyes on right now. Cooper Murray in the ANZ Simworks Holden Commodore. He is going to be harassing the back of Mario Vlasic, and Vlasic straight on the defense going down the front straight. Whether Cooper Murray can go around the outside, we'll see. He's going to have the draft, so he will look right as Vlasic holds it. Oh, he was thinking of going down the actual... Oh, he's actually bumped him. He bumped him off the track. So Cooper Murray was right up behind Vlasic. He tried to go grass but didn't, and as soon as Vlasic braked, he just drilled the rear end of Vlasic, and off he went, and Cooper Murray took that position. I don't know about that move at all.
I think he was expecting Vlasic to move to the left. Don't know in the end why Cooper Murray decided to have a look up the inside anyway. It's a risk you don't really have that much time to think about, so it's a risk not worth taking. And there you go, that's the end result. You know, Vlasic has damage, runs off the racetrack, and also Murray, who still maintains P3. You know, if he doesn't give the position back, he can at least... Yeah, let's see if he can maintain the speed with the damage he has, but to be honest, a move like that, I can understand his aggression. He wants to make the overtaking move stylish, but he's got about 5 car lengths to the left of him, yet he went for about 1/8 of a car length to the right on a pit lane exit road that was closing anyway. You know what, it's understandable. You know, I've been there before, especially when I was an inexperienced racer, as Vlasic seems to be struggling right now for pace with that damage. And you want to make an overtaking move stylish, you want to have some fun, but you know, sometimes you got to think what's the best for all parties involved. And right now, Vlasic did not get the best out of that.
Yeah, that's right. I think he needed to go to the left there. Yes, that may have been a long way around, but he had the draft and he could have outbroken Vlasic into the braking zone. And ultimately, it fizzled out a battle that could have went on towards the end of this race, because Vlasic looks like he is really struggling with that rear end damage. He's now down to about 2.5 seconds behind Cooper Murray at the moment, and that's really hurt what could have been a good battle, as Cooper Murray is right now catching up to David Wing, who is sitting in P number 15, 4 laps down. So we'll try and get around him as quickly as possible to try and hold on to that P3. But I think at the moment Vlasic may need to worry about Matty Stratford and them behind them. They're only 3.4 seconds back, and he was a good 2 seconds slower the last time by. So if Vlasic keeps struggling with this little bit of pace on the final 2 laps, it could be Matty Stratford that could take 4th away from him.
Yeah, and you know, it's important right now that Vlasic maintains the pace. 2:14.4 running off the racetrack. So maybe the damage, he might only lose a couple of tenths a lap. It might not be enough for Stratford to make his way up as Postlewaite right now. Started this race from P23. Has got a great opportunity to pass Ackland here, as he's I don't know what's going on over there, but right now, oh look at that, Ackland, yeah,
got the job done.
Too easy for Postlewaite.
Yeah, it was too easy there. Ackland made a mistake and went through Glenn Postlewaite. And so he's got that position done. I think Ackland's going to have another look. No, he isn't. So he's just got that job done, moved up another position. Just having a look up now. Ian Ford still 12 seconds out in front of this race, as he'll be coming up to start the final lap soon, as there's a little issue with Ackland and Glenn, and Ackland has got that position back.
Yeah, so Ford will begin the final lap. What a great race for him, and you can't take it away from the fact that he has driven phenomenally out here. It's been too easy for him, straight away from Josh Rogers' technical issue that put him out of the race. That was all the competition Ford would have had. You would have thought maybe Ford could drive a little bit faster, and he would have been more cautious with this strategy had Rogers been in this race, who knows? But you know, for such a long event this round, you would have expected, you know, a couple guys to be much closer up to the front, at least in terms of, you know, they won a battle for long term. But not everyone thinks the same anyway, as Postlewaite right now is behind Ackland.
Yeah, that's right. I think he may have had a good race there with Rogers. Obviously, Rogers wasn't. He was about 2.2 seconds at the time before the technical issue, so he was still there, and he could have easily had a little bit of strategy to play. But at the moment, Ford just driving an incredible race out in front, and he's done a good job the entire way. And Vlasic, I think, is going to hold on to P4 ahead of Matty Stratford and Jason Hyde, so I don't think Stratford had the legs to be able to catch up to him to make a pass and get the job done. So we'll see what happens there. And Sam Sutton just getting caught up with lap traffic got the job done, so he's going to comfortably hold on around there. But I think the rest of the field is sort of very spread out in this final lap.
Yeah, and the lap traffic's been very good this race. That's good to see, as a couple of drivers have damage. They're getting out of the way too. Ford's just wrapping around very easily here, coasting on this final lap, taking that rubbered line. You can see come the end of the race now, that racing line has been rubbered quite a lot, but Ian Ford will round the Canada corner for the last time and take a well-deserved win after the 90 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. He's driven an excellent race. The track grip definitely started to level out towards the end. He put some fresher rubber on with a different strategy. We all thought he could have been running a single stop, and then we thought Vlasic may have only been doing a single stop. Well, they both pitted and ruined any chance of that. So here he comes, coming around turn 14. Ian Ford will take round number 7 of the official V8 Supercar Series here at Road America. Driven an excellent race, got the job done. I think that is 2 in a row after taking last week as well. So good drive there from Ian Ford to take another well-deserved victory, and Sam Sutton will finish up in P number 2.
Yeah, Sutton, great race from 10th on the grid, moves up into the 2nd position, claims that, and Murray will not yield to Mario Vlasic after that overtaking move. He'll claim the final podium position. Vlasic won't be pleased too much with that, but he comes home in 4th, a great result for him. One of the 2 non-European drivers this afternoon, the only European driver finishing the race. And then we wait for Stratford, who comes home with P5. And what about Jason Hyde from 14th to 6th? Great result for him.
Yeah, good result for a lot of these drivers who obviously struggled a little bit in qualifying, but were able to get the job done. And Outwood down in 8th, not a great result. And I don't think that was what he would have been looking for, as this battle between Ackland and Glenn Postlewaite still goes on. I think Ackland is going to keep it, and he does, as it was nearly a photo finish across the line, 500ths of a second separating those two. So Ackland will finish inside the top 10, and I think that is it with the rest of the field. I think we just got Todd Parks has already finished, and we'll just wait for Sean Chappell. But we'll run through the results here for round number 7 of the Road America for the official V8 Supercar Series. Ian Ford commanding lead for the entire race and got the job done. Sam Sutton in 2nd, Cooper Murray in 3rd, Vlasic 4th, Matty Stratford in 5th. Behind him was Jason Hyde from 14th on the grid, so good drive there. Greg Sharp 2P from 12th on the grid to 7th, so good job from Sharp for ERA. Richard Alwood in 8th, David Baxter in P number 9, Daniel Ackland in 10th, and the rest of the field on your screen. So good race there, Johnny. Interesting to know what was going to happen with the strategy, but it looks like we have right now Ian Ford from just finishing in victory lane. So Ian Ford, you got us today?
Yeah, sure do, guys. How you going? Hopefully there was some excitement behind me there in that one. It turned out to be a bit of a boring race up the front.
Yeah, it was a little bit of action every now and then, but it looked like you commanding qualifying to finish. I think it was about 6/10 it was, in front of Josh Rogers, who had a technical issue early on in that race, and from then on out you just sort of drove away and were able to lead comfortably.
Yeah, I actually improved on my second lap in quali, which is quite outstanding considering that it was 46 track temp, so that's usually a no-go. Like, usually you hit turn 1 on your second lap and it's usually about 2/10, 3/10 down, so to actually find pace was good. And at the start there, the car just didn't feel quite as nice on the tyres as it did in quali and as it has in race trim in previous races such as the SDRT Enduro, so I was pretty much just, saving tyres, just not locking up, not getting wheel spin, just keeping it nice and steady, and not letting Josh get any close with any mistakes there. But unfortunately for him, he dropped out, and after that I had a pretty big gap over the rest of the field, and pretty much just rolled around until about the last 3 or 4 laps, and then I tried putting in a few quick times to see what the car was still capable of in the hot weather, and just came home with the checkered flag. It's quite an easy win, but it was hard out there in the weather.
Yeah, it was hard out there in the weather and hard out there for the distance. It would have been mentally taxing as well. But next week, we move to a bit of a shorter track. We move to Watkins Glen for 50 laps there. So that's going to be another sort of long one. But the track isn't challenging. The draft is going to play a major little bit of a card in that race that could see a little bit of guys just having a little bit more of a battle throughout.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be one of those races where it'll keep everyone bunched together pretty well for most of the race. I assume that there's a pit stop as well, so there will be a bit of strategy play throughout the race on where you choose to use your pit stop and how you choose to use it, and whether or not the undercut or overcut will work, sort of thing. But other than that, tonight's race was just an absolute insane length. It was quite good in different weather, but in the hot weather there, it just was really, really taxing. I literally ran off the road a few times down into the hairpin just with I just lost concentration, and with the heat, once you lock up the tyre, it was hard to bring it back. But other than that, it was great to finish up.
Yeah, it was a great drive once again. Ian Ford taking the win here. Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go?
MPMS Simulators, they got their awesome colour scheme on my car at the moment. That was done up by Nod Rider Design, so definitely check that out on Facebook. Awesome skins from them. And Maverick Welding, gel real timing has definitely helped in few of the longer races, such as the Enduro, and just gets you to work out a strategy a bit better, because you can see the time star, the drivers, all that sort of thing. And GTI Springs, without them, I don't think I'd be this competitive at this point in the season around some of these difficult tracks.
Well, there you go. That's Ian Ford there, winner of round number 7 here at Road America, and we'll finish it up there for the RaceBot TV coverage of the official V8 Supercar Championship Series. Next week, we head to Watkins Glen for 50 laps of the Cup circuit, so that'll be an interesting race. And thank you again to our camera and director, Hugo Louise, and joining me in the commentary box was Johnny Simon for tonight, and I was Jake Blackall, and thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you next week. Goodbye.